It's a new day. My hair looks insane, but we're gonna get outside and talk. Hopefully it's not too windy. I think this is gonna be too loud, so I'm gonna go get my phone so that we can do a voice recording. Okay, I think this is gonna be better. Hopefully it is. I'm walking back up to you. It's a big hill to get up. Also, there are sprinklers right here, so I sincerely hope the sprinklers don't turn on while I'm talking. I don't think they will. I think they're going to turn on at night. Okay, I think the audio is going to be good, so I'm just going to have to hold my phone, but it's okay. We can pretend like it's a little microphone. In my last video, I talked about how I really wanted to move into a new apartment, but I got rejected for the apartment that I really wanted. And upon further research, I decided that it is probably best for me to stay in my current apartment, just money-wise and stress-wise. I met with my doctor yesterday, and I was like, I think I'm feeling more depressed than usual. And she was like, Adri, I don't know that it's just depression. I think you're a little burnt out, and I think we need to talk about stress management. And I really took what she said to heart. We had a really good conversation. So I think overall it just makes sense for me to stay in my current apartment, even though I don't want to. But I wanted to talk about the disappointment that came with that. And I do want to name, like, I realize having a place to live and not being able to move into a different place to live is, like, not the world's biggest problem. I'm fully aware of that, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm, like, saying my life is so terrible because I can't move into a bigger apartment. Not at all saying that. But I also think we can learn a lot about ourselves just through, like, the day-to-day instances that occur in our life. And I've been thinking a lot about disappointment and how we deal with disappointment, or how we, like, view disappointment. And when I was reflecting on disappointment as a feeling and just trying to understand, like, where it comes from. Anytime I've experienced disappointment or, like, not gotten what I wanted, I feel like I've started to believe that that says something about me as a person. Like, if I didn't get a job I wanted, it meant that I wasn't qualified for the job, or I wasn't good enough, and somehow that says something about my value as a person. And with this apartment, it really doesn't have much to do with the apartment, more so like the money aspect of it, and feeling like financially I'm not the most responsible person, and feeling like that says something about me. And the truth is that it's not that I'm not a financially responsible person. It's just that in the past, I had things that happened, and that doesn't say anything about my value as a person. And I think that that's, like, something that a lot of people might struggle with, is feeling like if you have the perfect apartment or the perfect job or the perfect this, the perfect that, then that somehow makes you the perfect person. And if you're a perfect person, then you're valuable. And so having or obtaining the perfect something says something about your inherent value as a person. And this might be something that's more tied to, like, Western society. I can't say anything about any society outside of my own. But I do think the value that we place on the material possession, or the work that we do, kind of sets us up to feel like our inherent worth is based on that thing. When in reality, as people, we're worthy without the perfect job, or without the perfect place to live, or without the perfect partner, without the perfect wardrobe, without the perfect, bank account. Trying to control your image in that way, and, like, always searching for the next perfect thing, I think does one of two things. Like, one, you're never satisfied, right? Like, I'm not satisfied with my current apartment, so I have to find the next best apartment within my price range. But then in a year, I'll find something wrong with that apartment, so then I'll have to find the next best apartment in my price range, which inevitably is going to get more and more expensive. And I think the same can be said for a lot of components of life. And so it's like, you're either looking for the next thing to have, or the next thing to own, or you're kind of just, like, delaying the disappointment with realizing that the perfect insert whatever doesn't really exist, and that's okay. Because if we place, like, so much value, sorry, there's a guy in the background talking. He's on the phone. He doesn't care about what I'm doing. if we place so much value on having the perfect thing, and with the way that marketing works and the way that capitalism works, we're always going to be being sold the next good thing. I saw something today that was like, the wellness space doesn't exist without some form of evil, meaning that like the different diets you get sold, the different supplements that you get sold, they don't exist unless something is wrong. So like, now I don't really give a shit if people go carnivore. Like, I'm not going to, but I don't really care. But like, the fad around the carnivore diet wouldn't exist if fruits, vegetables, carbs, etc. weren't demonized. Without that sort of evil, we wouldn't necessarily have the carnivore diet in the sense of it becoming a trend. Obviously it could exist without the trend, but we wouldn't have this like trend of the carnivore diet is the one thing that you need to get on if you want to see X results. And I think that applies to a lot of things in life. It's like the perfect job wouldn't exist if there wasn't something wrong with your current job. The perfect partner wouldn't exist if there wasn't something wrong with your current partner. And there's value in understanding the flaws in a job, a relationship, and if you need to leave those things for your own mental or physical health, absolutely do that. But it's like, what is the difference between understanding when something is detrimental to our health versus when it's just not the exact way that we want it to be, and we keep trying to like tinker with it in order to get it what we want it to be, but it's never going to be what we want it to be, because what we're looking for is something that's unattainable. And I think that's where the disappointment comes in. And disappointment isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think disappointment can show us what we were committed to and what we wanted, and feeling like, well, I put all this time and all this energy into this thing that I wanted, whether it be a job, a relationship, a hobby, an idea, and it didn't quite work out the way that I wanted it to. And that's not necessarily a negative. I think we can learn a lot about what our values are and what we want out of life through disappointment. I learned a lot about not getting this apartment and feeling disappointed in that, like, financially I'm not in the best place for it. Financial stability is something that's really important for me. It's not important for me to become a millionaire, but what's important for me is to not be stressed about money. And so this disappointment in not getting this apartment because of my financial position showed me that it's okay to feel that, and that it's indicating to me what I want, and what I want is that financial security. I think disappointment is part of being a human. It's part of our very imperfect experience living on earth, and I don't think that there's anything that we really need to do about disappointment besides just letting it exist. I know, like, for me, whenever I feel disappointed, I can definitely get into like hyper control mode, and I want to try to fix whatever is disappointing me until it's no longer disappointing me. And ultimately that doesn't really work out because I'm trying to make something work that's just not meant to work. I talked about it in my last video, like trying to make yourself fit into a space where you don't fit in. It's like trying to make something work that is just not going to work. And that like ruthless controlling of the situation, I think it just causes like an unnecessary anxiety and an unnecessary tension, and almost like an unnecessary resentment, because it's like the more you try to make something work that isn't going to work, and like the more effort and the more energy you put into it, when you inevitably have to accept that it's just not working in the way that you want it to, and there's nothing you can do about that, I then feel like there's this like retroactive reflection about like, oh, well, why did I put all of that unnecessary time and energy into something that wasn't going to work in the first place? But all that is to say, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should give up on something just because it didn't work the first time, or that to just forego any effort, but more so to understand like what is meant for you in life and what's just like not working right now, and to be okay with the things that aren't working right now, and to put your energy into the things that you enjoy and the things that matter to you. I was feeling really tense the past few days, and me and my doctor talked about a couple things regarding my health that just kind of are putting me in this very like pensive mood. And I asked myself, like, what is something that I would enjoy right now? And honestly, it was just getting outside and laying under the trees and then getting up and filming this video, and that's what I did. And I will say it's helped a lot with that, like, it's helping a lot with the inevitable disappointment. Like, as I was laying under the trees, I was like, yeah, it sucks that I have to stay in my tiny ass apartment for another year, but like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world for me. It's a safe place for me to live in. It's a happy place for me to live in, and paying cheaper rent will help in the long term with my financial goal, which is being more stable. If I pay less rent, then that means I can put more money into savings. I think in like my first video, I talked about just like letting your feelings exist as they are, and I think that definitely holds true. We can spend a lot of time hyper focusing on why we feel the way we do and trying to make sense of feeling the way that we do, and I think there's a time and place for sure to talk about our feelings and process them, probably in therapy if you have access. But I also think that there's value in just letting your feelings exist, and in those moments of like letting your feelings exist, you kind of learn more about yourself and what you value and what you want. So I will leave that with disappointment is not a bad thing. It makes you human. Not getting the things that you want doesn't mean that you inherently are a bad person, and that there are things that you value and things that you enjoy, and to put your energy toward those things. I'm going to go inside because it is pretty chilly, even though it's almost June here in the high desert, or close to the high desert. It's cold and my toes are cold. So I'm going to go inside and edit this video, and I will see you in my next one. Like, look at that sun. She's just shining so bright. Look. Ugh.